Please welcome my friend Margaret to the Coop.
Hi, thank you very much.
What did I leave out, Margaret? Tell me everything.
I don't know. I think that's it. I mean, I've done a lot of things. I'm glad. I'm grateful. Thank you.
I know, I kind of like this age where we are, Margaret, to reflect back and see what we've done. Sometimes it just seems so surreal. But on the Coop, we start with, tell me one word to describe where you are in your life right now.
I think right now it's just trying to just keep going. I feel like if it's one word, it's relentless, because I'm doing it every minute, every day. Like I really am attacking things with consistency. I think that's what I realized, like over time, what really prevails is whatever you're consistent with. So I'm consistent with my writing. I'm consistent with my music. I'm consistent with going out and doing comedy. Those things, like I'm always just trying to have a better experience with all the things that I do, whatever it is.
Have you always been consistent? We just had Gabby Reese on the podcast, and she's about
awesome.
how consistency is king. And she comes, of course, from more the athletic. That's her thing.
Yeah.
But to your point, have you always been consistent? Because I love when I look at your life, whatever you do, Margaret, you do all out. And I love this about you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. But no, I was not like that before, because I had this idea like, oh, well, if I'm really good at something, then I'll just be really good at it. And I like kind of was engaging in this weird, like kind of magical thinking, like it's going to all come together and I don't have to practice. I don't have to work at it. But really, that's not true at all. Like you have to devote time to what you really want, and you have to do it every day. It has to be a daily practice, and it has to be its own reward as well. There's no cash and prizes for doing good work. You just have to do the work. That's the prize to itself, is just the ability to do it.
I read something about you that you will stay in bed for 12 hours every day. So I'm calling it your 12 up, 12 down. I mean, I just think that is so genius. Not that you're sleeping, but how did this notion come about?
Well, I mean, I just am a chronic insomniac. And so I really just decided, why don't I just like devote myself to sleep and not look at light, not look at devices, not look at anything. And so
that's a hard one, Margaret.
It's hard.
How do you do that? It's one thing to be in your bed with your phone or your laptop. So when you're there, what are you doing? Everything is very serene, and you're writing. Take me through the process.
I can bring paper. I can bring anything that's not illuminated. Like I can bring like a book, and I can bring, if I'm really struggling, I'll watch a black and white movie.
Wow.
You know, but the less strain that I put on my eyes, the more ideal, you know, and I've gotten to the point where I really do like sleep for 12 hours. Like I can, which I've built up to that. I read it was during training season, LeBron James sleeps 12 hours a day, so that he can really fully apply himself to training. Yeah. So I thought, well, what if I just did that for like my rest? And as I get so exhausted, especially traveling around, there's a lot of days where I don't sleep at all. So this is a way to kind of make it even, like the sleep debt, to pay it back in a way, but also to just like make me have a calm home life. I do this in hotels as well.
Wow.
But to have a calm life. It's hard to do, actually, to spend that much time.
I'm going to try to stretch that muscle, though, of when I am in bed. It's the no screens, Margaret. It's easy to say I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as I'm there, I'm checking, I'm looking, I'm on my laptop. To really read or to write, I like pen to paper. How long did it take you disciplined enough to really be able to do that?
Oh, it's a while. It's a long journey, like a few years. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Also, the way that we engage with the world is through our phone. So it's really tempting to take it into bed. But there has to be a space where you're without it.
Do you find you're more creative?
It's made me a really creative, but it's also made my thoughts process a little slower. Like I think that like when you're scrolling, constantly scrolling, the ideas are coming, and then you don't have the capacity to follow an idea all the way through, especially with my writing. It helps to just have a simple idea that I follow all the way through. But the other thing is I can't get out of bed until I write a joke. So I always, every time I'm in bed, every day before I wake up, or sometimes before I go to sleep. Anyway, the production of going to sleep has to come through one joke. It doesn't have to be funny. And so, But there was good ones that have come like of late. You know, there was like good things, and sometimes it's unusable. Sometimes it's not funny. Sometimes it's like just I don't even know what it meant. But
are you ever stuck in bed because you're like, I cannot come up with something that I can even put down on this paper? Or are you always
no? There's always something because it doesn't have to be good. That's the other thing is that people also always say, I'm not going to produce anything unless it's good. I produce constantly, and doesn't have to be good.
That's the muscle. You're just working that muscle. Over
I
and
just
over.
write it out and I make it out. Like I put it out on paper, and so in a sense, like the 12 hours in bed isn't exactly always sleeping. It's actually a pretty creative time. It's also writing time.
Yeah.
It's meditation time. That's a big part of it too, meditation. If I can't sleep, I'll meditate.
I love it. 12 up, 12 down. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt, Margaret.
Yeah, it's nice.
When I was getting ready to interview you, I was looking into your childhood, and I think of all the years that I've been lucky enough to interview you. I don't think we always talk about your parents, and of course, I love when you talk about them in your stand-up. But like, how did you grow up? So you started stand-up at age 14. What was your life like in San Francisco?
Well, my parents owned a gay bookstore.
What does that mean?
It was a store that like had events for authors. So Armistead Maupin he had written a series of books called Tales of the City, which became a television series, and it's a very popular book series about gay life in San Francisco in the 70s. And so he would come and do readings and signings, and so we'd have like events like that.
And did you like that growing up? Did you did you know how cool that was, or were you sort of like, oh wait, this isn't like my friends? Okay.
No, it was really cool because it was like all of these very interesting people who had full body tattoos like in the 70s. I mean, this is like very early on. I mean, nowadays that's very normal.
Yeah.
But then it was so, outre, and people were getting body piercings like all over, and drag shows. And, it was a very eclectic crew to grow up around. So they were my babysitters.
Oh my gosh, how fabulous.
Yeah, so I was always around really creative people. And then there was a comedy club upstairs from my parents' bookstore that I performed at. And then I had a teacher in school that would sign me up for open mic nights. And I performed with a partner early on. My first comedy, I was in a comedy duo with Sam Rockwell, who is now an Oscar-winning actor.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's great. He was as a child. We grew up together, and he and I were a comedy duo. And then there's actually footage of us on YouTube.
Oh,
that you can
we're
watch.
looking that up.
It's very
How
cute.
did I never know this? Okay,
It's
wait
really
a minute.
cute.
What was like your shtick? And were you in high school together then? And
We were in high school together. I don't even know. We were like pretending to be like a couple. I don't know. It was so dumb. Like it was just like dumb kids. Again, like. You don't have to produce anything good. You just do it. Like that's my motto, I guess. You just go and do it. And then some stuff, because you're doing it all the time, ends up being really good.
I know, but the confidence to do that, Margaret, like where did that come from? Because a lot of people think they have it, but once you're up there on stage, it's a whole different story.
Well, the confidence has to do with not having an opinion about what people think of you. Like, the confidence is like, I'm going to do these jokes, whether or not people like it is not really my business. I mean, I'm just trying, and eventually I'll get to a point where everything is good, and then everybody's going to love it because it's just, that's how it goes. But a lot of people get stuck on like, oh, I don't want to be judged. I'm afraid to be seen. I'm afraid to be judged on stage. I'm afraid that people are going to say whatever. The thing is that when you have no opinion about what people say about your creative output, then you're incredibly free.
Yeah.
It's not exactly confidence to me because I don't stand by everything I've done. I'm like, some things were great, some things were not. But I know that
the freedom to get there, to have that, were you born that way, to have that ability to be like, this is what I'm doing, and sort of I'm just doing it for me?
No, I was not born that way. It was like a hard-won lesson because I was so worried about what people thought, and I was so over analytical about every show. But then when after you do it for 42 years. Yeah. I think around year 7 or 8, 9, I'm like, I can't be so concerned about what people are going to think.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you were saying you're already like this back at 14. And I was like, what a gift, Margaret. Like, how do we get all young people, especially women, to feel this? So that is incredible.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first joke you ever wrote that was great on stage? And was it with Sam?
It wasn't with Sam. All that wasn't very good, but it was okay. I don't know. But the one that I was in the 80s, so I would always have to follow comedians who were doing lots of Asian driver jokes. That was like the big thing in the 80s. So then I would come on stage after them and say, I'm Margaret Cho. I drive very well. And then oftentimes it was like real downhill from there because I didn't know how to follow it. But it was a very good way to open because it was like acknowledging this is a racist place, but I'm okay, and we're gonna do it my way. So it was a powerful statement, but it took a long time to figure out how am I going to follow this up. But like I had a long journey of figuring it out.
Which we're all on, right? I think that's part of the journey for everybody. Do you remember the first time you bombed on stage?
Oh, yeah. Like the second or third time I was on. I mean, I bombed so much. I still bomb. Like I still don't do as well as, I mean, I think other people wouldn't necessarily consider it bombing, but it's like you want to try things out. You want to have a different approach every time. And so it's like not being afraid to fail. It's really helped me.
How would you describe your comedy?
I do crass, self-incriminatory, feminist, progressive comedy that's also about trying to promote the notion of equality, but at the same time having a good time with it. So I want to be political, but I don't want to be very preachy and very sanctimonious about it. I want to be really having fun with it and enjoying it, also celebrating being my age. I'm 56. And so that's also in itself a very unique experience as a comedian because a lot of people who are in comedy, they are either like a man or, much younger woman. So it's like a very different place to be this old as a woman and be doing comedy. And in the capacity that I do it pretty much every day.
So let's talk about age. I'm 54, so I'm right there with you. Do you feel like things have changed? Do you feel like there's more opportunity? You certainly have been a ceiling breaker and busting it wide open for so many comics coming after you. Do you feel like now I don't know, I feel like there's something with our age, Margaret. I think we're more relevant than ever. Or am I just drinking my own Kool-Aid?
No, I agree. I feel like we're being heard and seen more. I mean, especially seeing Demi Moore at the Golden Globes and
her
super
speech.
excited for her. Like I love her and I've always loved her. I'm a child of the 80s, so she's totally just the best, all the way through the 90s. She's G.I. Jane and Striptease and all those great movies, or St. Elmo's Fire, in General Hospital. She's just an icon. So it's great to see her succeed the way that she has, along with Michelle Yeoh, who is phenomenal and
sensational.
And I'm a fan of hers from her action Hong Kong days. And for me also to see the representation of an Asian woman just kicking ass. She's amazing. So I think that women are really, especially in film and television, are really holding space, a grand way.
Jean Smart.
Smart,
she's
great.
in her 70s and winning all the Emmys in her show. Yes. So we've come a long way since the 80s for you and me, I feel like.
Because women were so invisible our age for a long time.
100%. How have the topics changed for you now in your 50s from the 20s?
They're kind of the same. I mean,
Really?
less so about when I was younger, I was engaged less with politics, and it was more about just trying to get by with dating and trying to get by with the relationships and just trying to work that out, or trying to have more of a sense of peace with my body. When I was in my 20s, I was just at war with my body and the way that I felt. I felt so out of place. I was way too fat to be in Hollywood. I had all of these issues around that. So I think my comedy was about a lot of that dissatisfaction. Whereas now I don't have those same body issues. I'm very much not in the same place with the way that I think about the way that I look. And I didn't.
How did you get there? I think that's a huge theme that we talk about on this podcast,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And it comes with being in your 50s, right?
Yeah.
The self-love. We have survived a lot, Margaret.
Yeah.
So where we sit now, how did you get there? What was that arc?
Well, it's the disappointment that I never appreciated what a beautiful young woman I was.
Yeah.
And I'm sad for that young woman who is so down on herself. That's really unfortunate because I never enjoyed it. But in the 90s, we weren't encouraged to.
No. Yeah, 90s, we had to shave off our eyebrows and wear this really low pants with our fanny cracks out. When you got your sitcom, All American Girl, what year was that?
1994.
1994. So the thick of it right there. Take me on the inside. First of all, incredible for you to land this huge.
Yeah.
What was going on behind the scenes, though? I feel like you had to fight a lot of battles.
Oh, I was just trying to lose weight. Like, I was just trying to lose weight so that I could be on the show because the network was complaining, producers were complaining.
About what?
My weight. That was like the biggest problem.
Whoa. I think I was talking about content. They were talking about your body?
Yeah, that was all they talked about.
What?
That was all the discussion.
Like, give me a
And
specific. They would say what?
they were just saying your face is too full for the stage, the camera. This is the biggest problem. And it was so difficult, so they hired a trainer and then they brought, I had like the experience of when you're in like, you're like a high, this happens to like the big, I think this happens to like all the Marvel movie stars, is they have to eat food coming out of tiny boxes.
What?
Like you just get a bunch of boxes and you can eat the boxes. And then when you're done with the boxes, that's it. You're done eating. It was depressing.
This is infuriating. This makes
So
me
infuriating.
so angry. And
So-
nobody stood up to back you.
No, because it was like the norm, It was totally the norm. But I think it had some racial undertones because I was an Asian American. They had not seen an Asian American family on television before. And I'm Korean. My face is round. No matter how thin I am, my face is going to be fuller no matter what. So it's not, it doesn't make any sense, but it does have a racial connotation that
You
they weren't
think I am
able
livid
to sort
about
of-
this. What
Yeah.
did your mom say about all this? Or what did your friends say about all this?
Well, my mom was like, "Oh, you have to do you you have to do better." Because my mom is also like of the generation. And, oh, you have to. Why are you so fat? But then also at the same token, it's like, oh, you have to eat. Like it's like you can't win. You can't win. They just wanted to be me to be thinner. I don't
can't
know.
even believe that.
I
So
know.
how did it end with that? I'm trying to remember your show, how it wrapped
Well,
up.
the show was canceled and then replaced by Drew Carey because he's so thin.
'Cause,
You know what I mean? Like, it's
look
like,
at the difference right there. Now I'm really mad.
No, I love Drew.
I
And
love
he's-
Drew. This has
he's
nothing
great.
to do with
This
Drew.
has nothing to do with him.
But look what man you could put
Right.
on to be fine. Not only that, revered, respected,
Yeah.
picked up.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the time of that era of what we were talking about, like where women were just in this very, very narrow view of what womanhood should look like.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's much of I think a saner view of the way that women's bodies can look and appear, but it's just it's so different.
Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a moment where you fell off track with your career? And then how did you find your way back?
Well, I mean, for me, I think the best thing was sobriety. I'm sober now, 9-ish, 10 years, whatever.
Congratulations.
But thank you.
Wow.
But
Almost
that
a
was the
decade.
best thing that I've ever done.
What led you to that? Do you remember the moment where you're like, this is it?
Oh, it wasn't my choice. I had an intervention. So I didn't decide to be sober. Everybody decided for me. It was all my friends and family. They were like, you're going to go to rehab now.
I'm
And
only
so-
laughing because anytime I've been a part of an intervention, they like to retell the story. So did you know the intervention was coming? Let me ask it
No,
that way.
they tricked me and they said it was a birthday party. It was a surprise birthday party that I had to go for my friend.
How old? What birthday was it going to be?
It was
for
like,
a friend.
For my friend. So, he was in his like 49 or something.
How
I
old
don't
were
know.
you?
I was 40. I was 46. And so
So you're fired up. You're like, let's go to this party. I'm all in.
I wasn't fired up, but I had to go because I was being forced. It was like strong armed. You're going to this because you're just like not social. You have to go. And then I walked in the party and everybody was sitting in a circle with letters. And it was like, oh, God.
Oh, did
And
you
I-
know immediately?
I
You're
knew
like,
immediately and I was so mad. And they took me to rehab. And then I love rehab. Like, I love it. Like, I think about, I would go back for a refresh. Like, I don't need to. There's actually nothing in my life that's sort of going wrong where I would want to do that, but it's just for fun. Like, just to go and kind of unplug. It's kind of like the laying in bed for 12 hours thing. You go and they take your phone.
yeah.
And you can't be on the phone at all. And then you're like, people make all your food and you just sit in like group therapy sessions all day, or you do like meditations or exercise. Sometimes there's horses, there's gardening.
It's
there's all sorts of
peaceful.
stuff.
And I know
Yeah.
you've gotten into gardening. Before leading up to that, what was it, just alcohol for you? What led you to that point?
Everything. I mean, everything.
Like, what does
but
that mean?
like all kinds of drugs, all kinds of alcohol, like, but it was just the combination of that. Like I was in a toxic relationship with a guy that I don't even know how I got with him, but he was just awful. So, I mean, part of it was to get him out of my house as well. So there was just a lot of things that were going wrong. And for me, it's just so much better to be sober.
Oh, yeah, clear. Free,
Yeah.
back to that freedom word,
Yeah.
right? And your gardening there. Were you writing the whole time that you were in rehab?
Yes, yes.
Were you
Writing.
more creative once that came through?
It took a little bit, like a lot of it was writing that was like kind of inspired by the groups I was in and, you know, the different people that I was in rehab with, which it's like, it's hard because 20 of the people that I went to my rehab with died.
What?
So it's like you see how deadly the disease of alcohol and addiction is. Like it's awful.
Awful.
But I was in my facility with some very, very famous people, very wealthy people. It was like a really fancy place. So it was like the best. The people that you would think there were there. And all the money in the world, all the success in the world, the most famous name, they can't save you, you know, from yourself.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I always, I lost my uncle to addiction, and I would say addiction waits for nobody, and he was a head surgeon. And to your point, addiction does not care. And so,
No.
wow. When you came out of that, did you ever relapse, or was that
No.
it?
No,
Wow.
that's it. But I mean, you know, that's why I have a really diligent, like, self-care regimen. Like I'm, you know, in a very active, like, multitude of recovery groups and
Yeah.
you know, programs, and as well as I have a very, very strong meditation practice. And you know, it's just my life. Like you have to. I don't go for like medication to treat depression or anything. I have a really like stringent practice where I kind of dealt with it because none of those things worked for me. But I think that anybody who suffers from addiction might be helped by some sort of medication, but I haven't gone that route.
How neat, Margaret, to just look at your life so far of where you sit, and for this next beautiful next 50 years, what you've already lived. I just think it's, you have lived, my friend. And
Yes.
speaking of that, let's talk about your relationships. Okay, so I didn't know, so you were married for 12 years. That's not
Yes.
the bad guy we had to get
No,
rid of, was it?
no,
Okay.
he's a good guy.
Okay. And then when did you know in that relationship that it was over? What were the signs, and how did you get out of it?
I think that we probably just grew apart, you know, and I don't know if it was so clear. It wasn't the right fit from the beginning in a lot of ways, but then we also had a good time together as well. So it's hard to know, but we really just didn't connect for like the last 6 years was like a little bit like, why are we still doing this? And I think sometimes with a marriage, there's this feeling of like, I put so much into this relationship, I need to stick it out. And but then why? Like, like, is it just not working? But I'm glad that I had that time. I'm glad that he was in my life, but it just wasn't right. And then, like, yeah, I've had a lot of relationships, but now I've sworn to this idea of like, I don't want to have any more. I mean, I have like a lot of situationships now, which
Okay,
are
wait.
great.
We got to break all this down. So I love that you say you're purposefully single. I
Yes.
love that. Okay, so what did you say? You want a situationship?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is that just a booty call?
Sometimes, but it's also like a regular person that I'll go have a meal with or go see a show with or whatever it is, but we'll see each other. And then it's not a relationship with the goal in mind of like moving in together or getting
How does
married.
this work? How do you not attach?
Well, I think that I just don't want to live with anybody. So in that space, it's like, okay, well, I don't want it to continue on in that way, you know, and it sort of works itself out. Usually the relationship doesn't progress either, then it'll just sort of fall away and then somebody else will take its place or not.
I love that you're defining exactly what you want for you, which I think is so many people are doing today, which I think is super cool. Okay, and then you've been in the past in polyamorous relationships. What does that mean? I'm a newbie in all this. Explain it all.
Well, polyamorous is like where you have a primary relationship and then maybe you have somebody else on the side, but that also doesn't really work either.
I would just be jealous.
Yeah.
I think that would be a hard instinct to bury down. That's just me.
Yeah, doesn't really work because it requires so much processing and talking and worrying about people's feelings and like trying to coordinate. It's like more than I'm willing to, it's more emotional labor than I'm willing to do. I think it works for some people, but I don't want to do that.
Who would be your ideal partner going forward if you just had to describe somebody? Somebody that's not going to live with you. I'm going to start with that one.
I think I would like, I don't know, just somebody who is mature, who is got their own like work and like art or whatever it is, got their own thing going, has their own career, has their own life that's really rich and full that I'd love to like. I'd like to be with somebody that I'm a fan of.
Yes.
That would be fun.
It inspires you, that moves you.
Yeah.
You did something funny in your stand-up. I'm not going to try to recreate it, but something funny about the word bisexual. What were you saying about that? It's like fruit or something. You had some great line in your stand-up that we were cracking up over here.
Oh, well, it's like, I mean, it's, you know, bisexual for me is really, it also doesn't quite, oh, here's Lucia.
Oh, hi, Lucia. Let me see. Oh, my goodness. Hi. Look at the ears. Hi, Lucia. Oh, my gosh.
Well, like being bisexual is like liking cats and dogs. Like I have cats and I have dogs. So it's like the same thing. It's like, you know, you want the chicken and the fish. You don't really have, I mean, also bisexual is kind of, it's a little bit wrong because I don't believe in the binary of male and female. I think that gender is really infinite and that gender expression can be really anything. And then also, if I'm like really looking at it, I've probably been with more people that identify as non-binary or gender non-conforming than male or female. So bisexual is a little bit of an outdated term, but I use it.
And would you ever want to get married again?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to wear a white dress. Weird. I don't want to wear a dress. I don't want to have a party with a bunch of people. Like, that is annoying. Like, I don't want to go to a government agency and sign over to make a union with somebody. Like, that's also very creepy. Like, why does the government need in on my, like, love relationship? It's weird. Yeah, the weird giant event where you have all factions of your life present is like a nightmare.
It really is. It's so stressful.
Yeah, so stressful. I've done it before. I really don't want to do it again.
All right, Margaret, let's play a little Let's Get Random. Here we go. If you could heckle your younger self during one of your early stand-up sets, what would you shout from the back of the room?
It would be like, what's with the gloves? What's with the brooch? Like, I love to accessorize. In that early part of my career, I wore a lot of like arm-length gloves, like elbow-length gloves, and brooches. Like, what is with the brooch?
What were you channeling? Give me your thought process.
I think it was like, I was probably trying to look like a female comedian. Like what I thought a female comedian looked like. I was maybe trying to look like Joan Rivers a little bit.
Yep.
Who I love and
the best.
my good friend. But yeah, I think I was trying to be a comedian by dressing like female comedians, but that's just not the look.
You mentioned Joan Rivers. Who else did you look up to growing up?
Paula Poundstone.
Yeah.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes.
Also became a very good friend. Brett Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Really iconic Brett Butler. You know, those are all of my real heroes.
Did you have a nickname growing up?
No, I didn't. I never did.
I find that so hard with your eclectic life growing up there. Nothing.
Yeah, no. My Korean name, Moran.
Does that mean something?
It means a peony flower. You know, those big
Those
cabbage
are my mom's
rows.
favorite. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Speaking of moms, I was just talking about my mom. What does your mom think about where you are now and your incredible career and everything you've accomplished?
Oh, well, she's like very famous at her assisted living. She's very famous at her doctor's office. And she's my doctor said, this is Margaret Cho's mother. I was so excited. She's so excited because like everybody knows who I am. Very exciting.
Did she way back when want you like married off, grandkids? Did she have a whole plan for you?
She still does. She started a prayer group at her church to find me a husband. And I was like, I'm going to pray and I'm going to get you Tinder app membership. So she's like going to download Tinder for me so she can look at some matches and then start a prayer group for her and all of her old ladies like can get together and pray that I'll get a husband. And I'm like, that's not it. No, don't do that. But I can't control her.
Has she ever set you up with anybody that you've gone on the date?
No. And I think because I don't think we would have the same kind of taste. But there are like Korea, they have like matchmakers where like parents will do that for kids. They will like fully set you up in like a marriage, in Korea. But I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want that.
I see you with all your animals. Did you ever want children yourself?
I think I may have for a second, like near the time where it wasn't really possible for me to have kids. I thought last ditch effort, might as well squeeze out one. But then, I mean, I don't have the desire to love anybody that much. Like that to me is quite an ask. For when you have a kid, you have to you love them so much that how can you even function? Like I have a hard time even with my animals.
I love that.
So, but yeah, I just didn't want to love anybody that much. I don't have the ability to be that vulnerable.
Do you remember your first tattoo that you got?
My first tattoo was my stomach and my back, actually very, very large tattoos, all done by Ed Hardy, a famous Don Ed Hardy.
Whoa.
At Tattoo City in San Francisco.
Whoa, okay. How old were you and how did this come about?
I was actually probably 30. Don Ed Hardy had tattooed all of my parents' employees from the gay bookstore. And so it was them that took me to get my first tattoo from him when I was, my 30s, early 30s.
So what was on your stomach and back? What'd you get?
So large peony flowers with
the name.
2 snakes, wrapped around.
And what's the significance of the snakes around
There
the
really
piano?
is none. I just like snakes. I like snakes and flowers. I think it's just like a beautiful, it's sort of Japanese imagery. It's that Japanese style tattooing that's like what Ed Hardy's so well known for. But I love the way that they wind around and, the petals are falling off the flowers. It's a really beautiful tattoo.
And what's the last tattoo you got?
The last tattoo I got was actually last year. It was from a guy from Korea named Uzi, who's incredible. And he does like blue and white tattoos that look like china, like a Delft china. So it's like, it looks like porcelain. And so that's on my leg. And I had a really big piece done by him last year that was just very different from any of the other kinds of tattoos because it's really like fine and delicate and really looks like porcelain. But yeah, the guys from Korea, all of these tattooers in Korea and from Korea are just doing the best work right now.
How many tattoos do you have?
Overall, I probably have around 80 or 90 if you sort of look at them all sort of separate. But I kind of also look at them all as one. I don't really know. There's quite a few that are not finished that I really am reluctant to have finished because I don't have the time to go back to places in the world where they were started. But I do love the art form.
Yeah, it's sort of a map of your life, if you will. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Margaret, what is in your bedside drawer? You've lived a life, Margaret.
Earplugs.
Oh.
Earplugs, lip balm, because I need to, I'll get up in the middle of the night with really dry lips, so I have to get in there. Some like cuticle oil. Yeah, lots of different little moisturizers. There's like cuticle oil and there's like a foot balm stick because I have the driest feet.
It'll get you.
I have the dry skin. So there's just like that. And then these really silicone-y earplugs that are like gushy. Like I want to eat them because they're kind of gummy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's there.
Well, because I was asking, because studying to come interview you, you're very open about your sexual past. And I feel like you've gone down a lot of different avenues with everything right there. Do you have a safe word?
Oh, I mean, you negotiate a different one with every person that you're going to sort of be playing around with. I don't really do anything like that anymore. That would require a safe word that's kind of edgy. I'm a little bit less doing that.
Is there a funny safe word you could share with me? My producer and I were going around what our safe word would be.
Safe word, you would a word that wouldn't come into the context of sexuality. So you would say chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum was the one that I had used before.
Not peony. Not your favorite
peony.
one. Peony.
Because you might, or peony. Either way, but you might use that. But yeah, chrysanthemum was probably the one that I remember.
That's a hard one, Margaret, to say.
Yeah.
I was reading, or you were talking about a guy that used to try to light your leg on fire, or he would light your leg on fire. I was like, I would yell, fire. Water, yeah.
It was so funny because it was how is this sexual? I was like, why? I don't find this sexy or sexual.
You think?
what is this about? Like, that's why I'm not that involved with all of that sort of like stuff that would require a safe word, like BDSM, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I definitely love a kink, but I also, it gets to the point where I'm like, how is this sex? Like, when does this become sex? Like, I'm like, I don't get that part.
Yeah, the fire on the leg. I was trying to reach deep to figure that one out. If you were reincarnated, what animal would you want to come back as, Margaret?
One of my cats or one of my dogs, or like the animal of a successful woman.
Yes.
You know, any successful woman's pet, I would be very happy. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Favorite body part?
Oh, you know what? I like my thighs. I think I've got good thighs. I've always actually really liked my legs in general, but my thighs, I think, they're sturdy and muscly, and I've appreciated them always.
Is the high still the same when you get off stage?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just this wonderful relationship that I have with the art form that I am still learning so much. I'm still growing. Every time I do it, I'm like amazed. And I think I love it more now than I ever have.
I love that. What do you attribute that to?
I think that I pay more attention to it now.
Yeah.
You know,
gratitude.
And I have gratitude, and I've been doing it for so long, and I'm not jaded. I'm really like, this is a trip, because it's like, I've never figured it out quite entirely, but I'm still doing it, and I love the craft.
I'm just doubling back thinking about your safe word chrysanthemum, and then I keep botching. I say it wrong, and my mom bug gets mad. It's not peony, right? You're saying it right. It's peony? How do I say it?
I think it's peony.
Peony, you say it right.
Yeah.
You love to garden. When did your love
do.
of gardening come about? When did you know you had this green thumb? Like, when were you like, oh, I'm going to give this a go?
Well, a lot of plants die. I don't have it. I'm not the best at it. I had whole like gardens of carnivorous plants, which are really hard to take care of, especially in Southern California. And I had to keep them in like a marsh. I had to create like a marsh for them. But what happened was I ended up creating the perfect environment for a mosquito factory.
Yes.
Which I made like horrible. But then a lot of the mosquitoes would be eaten by the carnivorous plants. So it's kind of like, you know, it's
See,
okay.
once again, you don't do anything half-assed. Like, if I'm going to have a garden, like, you're just not going for the easy plant to flower.
No, the hardest plants. But I have a couple of really interesting plants. I'm good with cactuses and succulents, but those are the most like low maintenance plants you can have, you know. But I just love it.
Me too. I just think there's something so beautiful about that. Fill in this blank, Margaret. Aging is what?
Aging is this wonderful adventure that you keep on learning from and growing from, and it's the ultimate journey.
What are you manifesting these days?
I'm manifesting joy. I'm having a good time. Like, I have a good time pretty much all the time. And so that's what I sow. You reap what you sow. So I'm sowing some joy, reaping some joy.
Well, you can feel it. So let's talk about what you got going on. I'm so excited about Lucky Gift. You're releasing your album. Tell me about the title, Lucky Gift.
Well, the song is about one of my situationships, which I actually ended up falling in love with.
Oh,
and
wait, the person or the song?
The person. And then I wrote the song for him. And it was really exciting because it was like the song is basically about when you feel ugly, but you fall in love anyway.
Oh.
And it's those like realizations that love is not for the young and beautiful. It's for everyone. And it's that exciting feeling of like being sort of held aloft by emotion. And I was able to replicate that with the instrumentation and the recording and the way that I wrote the song. So I'm really grateful for the ability to do that.
And that comes out on Valentine's Day. I want to tell all of our listeners and viewers watching. So cool. What part does music hold in your heart, like the creating of that and singing it?
Well, I play and sing, do it every day. It's actually almost part of my meditation and a part of my life. Like, I'm always on like this journey of learning and growing as a musician. And I play pretty much everything, not well, but I do it, you know, and it's not really for other people. It's really just for me, and so that I can keep my mind alive. This is also to stave off dementia.
Yeah.
So learning a new instrument will really get your mind going in the same way that a crossword puzzle, or, you know, because that's the hand-eye coordination thing. It's muscle memory, but it's also like making those connections mentally of like growing a space where you can do something new. So I do that every day.
touring now with your Live and Livid show. What makes you livid? I feel like you're not livid about anything now, Margaret. You're zen, you're chill, you're in the zone.
I am, but I am livid about a lot of things happening with our current political landscape, with our really insane administration. And I mean, I don't want Elon Musk as president. You know, I just don't think that he should be president. You can't spell felon without Elon. So I'm hammering that home. There's a lot to say.
So if people show up to your shows, what are they going to get?
Well, they're going to get a lot of crass observations about what I think is happening all over politics and social media and everything. So I'm really into sort of talking about what's happening also currently, but also overall. I'm like really pushing for women's rights, for gay rights.
Thank you.
So all these things are really important for me. And, you know, we'll see how it turns out in the end. But I'm concerned about our state of the nation.
Well, the Coop is coming to see you on the road. We'll put up tour dates and everything on our website. And final question, Margaret. Here we go. What turns you on? What's moving your needle?
I love coconut cake. I actually have a piece of coconut cake. It's so underrated. People love a chocolate cake, and then people love a red velvet cake. Nothing better than a coconut cake.
What makes the coconut cake great? Because I don't like, it's got to be the perfect amount of the coconut with the frosting.
Right. Like, it's not too sweet. It's just to me, it's a very decadent treat. It's also kind of retro. Like, it's kind of 1930s in a way. It's very fancy in the way that you think of like a cake should be. It's fluffy and high. And I love like this like flaked coconut all over in shreds.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Well, Margaret, I've been such a fan of yours forever. Thank you for sharing part of your journey. You sure have been through a lot, done a lot. You've never been more creative and vibrant. And this is what this podcast is about. I think we're just hitting our stride in our 50s. I really mean
agree.
it. I really do, with all this wisdom. And so we will see you on the road, my friend. And don't forget, everybody, her album Lucky Gift is out on Valentine's Day. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Oh, Harper, Margaret Cho. Wow, she's fascinating.
She has lived. Oh my gosh.
A lot of lives.
A lot of lives, a lot of, when you and I were speaking about this before you interviewed her, she really does do the extremes, right? I was kind of envisioning her on this horizontal line of life, and she pushes all the sides, and then I feel like she's found herself in this beautiful space in the middle, maybe not in the middle. I mean, because she still pushes the envelope from a comedic standpoint and music and everything she's doing creatively, but she seems so peaceful.
Also, she looked peaceful. I don't know what she's doing with that skin. Looked incredible.
Well, she said, I think it's the HRT. I think it's the
I need
estrogen
it.
ring.
I need it.
And
she looked so beautiful and so calm. And how funny, Harper, that her word to describe where she is right now is relentless. Yet at the end, she's so full of joy. So there's two words together. You could feel joy on her. You could feel it. Calmness.
Absolutely. And the relentless part about it is she's attacking things with consistency. That is so cool.
Remember Gabrielle Reese said consistency is king.
Consistency is king. Never giving up. She's just constantly pushing in all the ways. And she has spoken about this before. She is always working. She is always on. So again, to see her in such a relaxed way, knowing on the other side of it and writing jokes in bed.
Yeah. And she can't get out of bed till she writes a joke. That's a lot of pressure. I
love that.
Yeah.
Well, but not, because she says it doesn't even have to be good. That's so wise. She can write the worst joke in the world. She's like, all right, now time to get up.
I love her 12 up, 12 down. We're putting that on a t-shirt. I mean, and the fact, if you really think like Harper, I couldn't do it. I couldn't unplug. The moment I wake up, unfortunately, I'm on my phone.
Yep.
I'm looking at stuff. I'm already dialed in. What a gift she's giving to herself. Could you do that?
Oh, it's really hard. It's really hard. I don't like to think that I'm addicted to my phone and sort of things. I don't like to think that I am, but the truth is that we all are.
I know.
And the gift she's given herself is she's not letting her brain rewire in the ways that we all are, because we are on our phones all the time and we're like, just never giving ourselves that downtime.
She's just cool. I love when she says, look, I miss rehab. Or what'd she say? I would go back to rehab.
Oh yeah, she said, I love rehab.
I love rehab.
I really love it. But she loved it because she wants to go back, but she loved it because it was just like joyful and peaceful.
They
and
make your
horses,
food.
They make your food. I mean, she's, again, just finding the joy in everything. One of the things I thought was super fascinating about her was the situationships.
Yeah. First of all, I don't know how you don't attach. I thought that was fascinated.
Situationships.
Situationship.
It's really hard to say that
Although
word.
she said with her song, she fell in love with her
Lucky
situationship.
gift.
To my point of, I just don't know how when you're dating someone and hanging out. But I like she is defining her world how she wants it, and that is so beautiful.
And she's looking at it like, what are the pieces that I want and serve me and I need right now? Not, it doesn't have to be, one situation doesn't have to sort it all out.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to fulfill every single one of those prophecies. It can just sort of be what it could be, a booty call. It could be going to the movies. It could be whatever,
Yeah.
whatever she's needing.
What about when I asked
Making
the safe,
coconut
the
cake?
safe word and chrysanthemum? I can't even say it right. I was like, that's a long safe word.
Chrysanthemum?
Chrysanthemum.
I think it's chrysanthemum.
Why
And
do
how do
I
you
get
say
these?
peony?
Okay, chrysanthemum. How do we say this one?
Chrysanthemum.
Cannot have that as my safe word. Chrysanthemum.
You'll never be safe.
I'll never get it. Wait, seriously, chrysanthemum?
Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, chrysanthemum.
There you go, girl.
It's the thumum.
Thumum.
Chrysanthemum.
I think that's right.
Okay, are you sure
Wouldn't
that's
you love
right?
if I actually just taught it to you wrong?
I think you. Oh, that's right. Okay, and then my mom, Bug, gets so mad at me. Her favorite flower is the peony.
Peony?
Peony.
It's peony.
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 The reason why that's off that part of your guys' conversation was so funny is because I don't think you can actually use the word peony as your safe word because some people might think
in
it's
me?
pee on me.
Pee on me.
Pee on me.
I would like the peony.
like
I'll have
the
a dozen.
No
peony.
problem. No problem. Now? Later. Yeah.
Say it one more time. Peony.
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 Pee on me.
Pee on me. Listen, I don't know if we'll get a good safe word out of this.
Okay, so hold on. What? Well, okay. Dying. Okay. Oh, the other thing that I absolutely loved. Well, there's two things that she wants to come back as the animal of a successful woman.
Which that's her.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. But the really funny thing was what about her mom? The story about her mom
Trying
in her
to set
prayer
her up
group
in her prayer group for her to get married
to a man.
To a man.
Right. So it was a clear vision.
Very specific.
But also she wants to get her on Tinder.
Yeah, she'll pay for the
She
tender.
signed her up for Tinder. That is amazing.
They're so cute together. I love when she talks about her family.
Well,
that was just I've known her throughout the years just from interviewing her. What a life, Harper. What some life lessons in there we can all take away. I love, which is why we're doing this podcast, in her 50s. I do feel like she is really hitting a stride in the way that she wants to stride.
100%. She's owning it. She is as cool as can be. And she is living life to the fullest on her terms.
On her terms.
And crushing it. Crushing it.
And by the way, we got to go see her on tour.
Live and Livid.
Live and Livid.
She's on tour now. I think she's literally going up to like Washington right now, and she's making her way to California where we are. She's on Carmel. She's in San Luis Obispo. She's everywhere and will be for a very, very long time.
Play her song today, P Up the V on...
Pump up the volume on Lucky Gift.
Lucky Gift. What a cool title that is. Well, she was a lucky gift for us today.
Absolutely.
Coop listeners, I hope you liked that. I certainly learned a lot. Thank you again, Margaret Cho, for coming on, and we'll see you next time in the Coop.